Greetings and welcome. Now, I want to talk about this recent election in the Netherlands with Geert Wilders' far-right party getting the highest vote share in the country and will most likely be the next Prime Minister if he can form a coalition government with other parties. Now, is this the greatest advert for a PR voting system? Is this the greatest display of how fair a proportional representation voting system is? Now, the majority of my viewers want a proportional representation voting system in this country, in the UK, and I have always been in that opinion as well. On the surface, it seems the most fairest, the most democratic way to do an election. Very simply, everyone has a vote, everyone's vote matters, everyone votes for the party that they most want to win. When all the votes are counted, each party's number of votes gets a percentage of the vote. Whoever has the highest percentage of the vote can form a government. If they don't reach a certain threshold, then they have to form a government with a coalition with other parties. It seems the most fairest way. Every single vote matters and counts towards the election. But when you look at what's going on in the Netherlands, it does make me question, is it the most democratic and is it the best way to do an election? Bearing in mind that Geert Wilders' party got 25% of the vote share. So 75% of the country do not want him as Prime Minister. You know, we moan a lot in this country. When you look back at the 2019 election, the Tories got 40% of the vote. So 60% of the country didn't want Boris Johnson as Prime Minister, but he was Prime Minister. But go over to PR voting system, go over to the Netherlands, where the leading party has got 25% of the vote share. Now, I understand how PR works, of course, so he has to form a coalition government with other parties. So his policies will be watered down. He run his election on anti-Islam, banning mosques, banning the Quran, even a referendum on the EU. So his party got about 31 members of parliament, and you need 75 to have a majority. So he's got to go in coalition with two other parties that have got about 20 MPs. So his policies are going to be incredibly watered down. So I understand the theory behind a PR voting system where, yes, you do let extremes and far rights into parliament, but their policies will be incredibly watered down because they have to form a coalition with other governments. The problem that I see with what's going on in Holland right now is that he is the largest share of the vote, so he will have to form a government. But the left-wing parties have refused to work with him. I kind of feel like they're doing an injustice to their voters by not doing that, because now he's left. The most likely outcome, the most likely government that's going to come out of the Netherlands will be Geert Wilders' far-right party, boosted up with the centre-right party and the centre party. So put it in the terms of the UK, which I best understand, it would be like a Nigel Farage UKIP, boosted up with the Conservatives and the Lib Dems. So a large section of the Netherlands voted for left-wing parties. You know, 20–30% voted for left-wing parties, and none of their views are going to be represented. So these left-wing parties in the Netherlands, I think, are hanging their voters out to dry by not going into coalition with Geert Wilders' party, and now they're just left with a very right-wing party. You've got a centre party, a centre-right party and a far-right party in government, and it does make me question. It really does make me question, because my views on a PR voting system being done on this country, I think if there was a PR voting system tomorrow, I think you'd have a centrist Labour Party win, but bolstered up with a reform Nigel Farage party and a Green party, which I actually think is probably the most democratic government you could have in this country, that best shows the views of everyone in this country. Most people are in the centre with their politics, and both fringes on the left and the right will be represented. So you'd have a centre-ish Labour Party in charge, but you'd have the Greens in there maybe just saying, look, you need more social democratic policies, and reform will be there to go, you know, don't take the piss on immigration, and that would be the most democratic situation. But what's going on in Holland has shown that you know, could you, if there was an election under PR in this country, could you have a similar thing with Farage instead of Geert Wilders actually winning a majority? But then if that's the electorate's will, it really has made me start thinking. And what it's made me think the most of really is maybe the preferential voting system that they have in Australia is actually a much more fairer model. When you look at the Australian model, it is first past the post. They have their equivalent of MPs, which represent their constituencies, their state and their territory, and they get voted in. And it's similar to here, but the major difference is that everyone has to vote. You have to vote if you're over 18. You can go and spoil your ballot. You can just draw a giant cock on there if you want to, but you have to go in and you have to do it. And the majority of people will actually vote, which means all the main parties have to appeal to everyone in the country. You don't get a situation like in here where the Tories can just appeal in the past to, you know, wealthy homeowners, and now appealing to anti-immigrant racists, stuff like that. They have to appeal under the Australian model. They have to appeal to everyone because every single vote matters and every single vote is important. But more importantly is the way that you can vote for a second party.
On your green ballot paper, you must rank all the candidates, otherwise your vote won't be counted. Number 1 for your first choice, number 2 for your second choice, and so on. When the votes are tallied, if no candidate obtains more than 50% of first preference votes, then the one with the lowest number of votes is eliminated. The votes for that candidate are then distributed amongst the remaining candidates according to second preferences. If there is still no one with a simple majority, the second last candidate is eliminated and their votes are redistributed as well. This continues until a candidate achieves a simple majority. The idea is that preferential voting results in an elected candidate who more closely represents the will of the people.
So it solves the problem of people, the majority of people lay in the same sort of situation that I do, where I guess in an election the Green Party probably represent the majority of my politics, but because of first past the post, I probably will end up voting Labour because getting the Tories out is more important. But the Australian model takes that away, because I can happily vote Green because I can do my second choice. So I can vote for Green as my first choice and I can put Labour down as my second choice. So if the Greens don't get it's 50% of the vote, then it goes down to your second choice of Labour. So it solves the issue of people not wanting to vote for the party that they really believe in, because they can always have that second choice. If you're on the right, you can put your second choice as the Tories, and it matters. So people will feel more confident about voting for smaller parties. And it really has made me think about the two differences between the two parties. Now, there's a lot of things. Just the voting system in this country is just one very small part of what drastically needs to change. There's a lot of things that needs to change. I think the voting system is just one thing. I think money needs to come out of politics. We need to have political parties that are funded by citizens, membership, very small amounts, so people can't shove anti-climate change or anti-whatever, can't shove millions of pounds into a political party to get their points across. Also things like the House of Lords needs to change. I mean, we need a citizens representation idea, where almost like jury service, where people do their time in the House of Lords, or we just vote for them separately in a separate election who we want in the House of Lords. There's a lot of things that need to change. A huge uphaul of our political system, because it's so archaic and it's so old, and the voting system is just one. What we all know though, and what we all generally agree on, is that the current voting system in this country is terrible. First past the post, as it is right now, is the worst form of voting system. But it has got me thinking, with what's going on in the Netherlands, it really has got me thinking about whether the Australian model, what's it called, preferential voting system, is a better model. because I can't see how what's going on in the Netherlands is fair when your Prime Minister has got 25% of the vote share. That seems mental to me. And like I say, I know that his policies will be watered down by the other parties that he has to go in coalition with. But also this thing that the left-wing parties won't want to go in coalition with him is madness to me. It's madness. You need to all the people that voted for you, you need to be there to represent their views and get some left-wing policies pushed through. But it is a crazy situation, especially Holland. I mean, what is going on? I'd love to hear some comments. I know I do have some viewers that live in the Netherlands. I really would love to hear your opinions of what's going on in the Netherlands, because we always think of the Netherlands as a liberal country, don't we? But I guess what's been happening is the vote is swayed away. You know, Amsterdam, I understand that Geert Wilders only got 8% of the vote share in the big cities like Amsterdam and Utrecht. And it was the rural areas where he got a high percentage of the vote, which goes with the trend, doesn't it? You know, it always seems to be the case that people that actually live with migrants and live with people of other races and other ethnicities in big cities are the ones that are more tolerant, because they mix with people and we talk with people. It seems to always be the case that the people that live in rural areas that don't have a lot of immigration, that don't have a lot of people from other races, are the ones that tend to be against them. It's funny how that trend goes, doesn't it? But yeah, I'd love to hear from anyone that's in the Netherlands at the moment. I really want to know what's going on. How does this guy get that many votes? But this is the issue. This is the whole point of the video, is that he hasn't, has he? He's got 25% of the country, 75% of the country don't like this guy and don't want him in power. So how is it fair and how is it right that he will be the next Prime Minister? Really has got me thinking about PR the last week, and I'm sure some of you have as well. And I've got to admit, right now, I mean, I might have my views persuaded, but right now, if I was going to choose a new voting system for this country, I think it would be the Australian model. I think that's the most fairest. I really do. And it does allow people to be able to vote for the party that they really believe in, safe in the knowledge that they have that second choice or that third choice that will make a difference. And yeah, what do you think, guys? Let me know in the comments. I always love your comments. Please leave your comments down below. What's your views? Maybe put what voting system would you want to go for? And if you enjoyed the video, click a like. You can subscribe up top, and there should be another video up there as well. Till next time, take care.